SOCOM, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six, Operation Flashpoint, and America's Army. These are just a few of the many tactical shooter games available for the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox generation of consoles, and for the most part, they were all pretty damn good games. But does anyone remember the conflict games? There were quite a few of them that were made during this time frame, from Conflict Desert Storm 1 and 2, Conflict Vietnam, and of course Conflict Global Terror. But did anyone ever know that Pivotal Games, the developer behind the Conflict series, made another title in 2008 called Denied Ops for the PS3, Windows, and 360? Probably not, since the game got little to no advertising, and it was going up with the likes of other well-known, highly praised, and increasingly popular games like Call of Duty 4, Unreal Tournament 3, Halo 3, Gears of War, and Rainbow Six Vegas. Conflict Denied Ops, coming out in 2008, was a death sentence, considering the only feasible way this game could have ever done well is by blowing away the competition, which, needless to say, didn't happen. Conflict Denied Ops did terribly with sales and received mixed to piss-poor ratings from critics and users alike. It was the final Conflict game ever made, and it led to Pivotal Games closing down shop just a few months after the game's release. But why? What was it about this game that not only ruined a franchise for good, but destroyed a video game company in the process? Well, for one, you'll notice that unlike the previous Conflict titles, Denied Ops is in the first-person shooter format. Now, this isn't inherently an issue. Technically speaking, previous Conflict games could be played in either first or third person. But anyway, tactical shooters were becoming increasingly popular at this point in time. Conflict was known for being a squad-based tactical shooter. Denied Ops, however, is far from that, and I will touch on that subject later on in this review. A glaring issue with Denied Ops was the story. And the thing is, I can't exactly say that the previous titles had award-winning, spectacular storylines, but even then they were completely fine for what they were. Denied Ops, saying that it was poorly written is just an understatement. The main problem I see with the story, and what completely took me out of it, was that the two main characters in the game are unlikable. I would even go as far as to say they're hateable. So, have you ever seen a buddy cop movie like Rush Hour? It's kind of like that, but in its worst form. In the first Rush Hour, both Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan's characters don't like each other. They make comments, bicker back and forth, and talk shit during, like, the first half of the movie. Okay, so imagine that, but with horrific dialogue, bad acting, and the bitching, bickering comments go on for the entirety of the movie. That is exactly how Denied Ops is like. Worse yet, unlike Rush Hour, the comments that these two blithering idiots make aren't even remotely funny or entertaining. And I really dislike throwing the cringe word around, since it's one of the most overused terms in the past decade. I will make an exception in this case. Denied Ops... The more I listened to the characters, the more I felt like my soul was being physically sucked away from my body. And people bitch about, like, the Star Wars prequels having bad dialogue and a bad script. Oh, play this. It's far beyond worse than that.
Motherfuck. Getting eaten alive here, bro.
Why do you think I haven't washed since we got here?
'Cause you grew up in a trailer park?
That layer of crud you washed off was the best insect repellent there is. That and your face.
Know what that is? That's a joke, bro. I think I'm growing on you.
Yeah, like crotch rot.
There you go again, a joke.
Visually speaking, the game isn't up to par for 2008 standards. It very much so looks like a launch title, muddy graphics, blocky character design with kind of odd body movements, the texturing, lighting, frame rate issues, everything about this game visually just screams dated. And that's kind of funny to me because I remember reading at one point where some critics, I guess, praised the graphics of Denied Ops. It made me wonder if like they were playing a completely different game than I was. But regardless of the fact that the game has a basic destructible environment element to it, in no certain terms could I ever say this game looks great or even good. There's plenty of other games that look worse than Denied Ops, but that's like grabbing cat shit out of a litter box with both hands and asking which one looks more appealing. One of the biggest negative marks regarding Denied Ops is that, like I said earlier, the game is far from a tactical shooter, like its previous titles. It no doubt plays exactly like any other generic arcade shooter on the market, with the only difference being that you can command your partner to perform certain acts like defend an objective, suppress fire, throw grenades, and other very basic tasks. This game also doesn't feature any sort of cover system. Now, by 2008, this would be kind of odd because there were plenty of other tactical shooters, hell, even arcade shooters, that would have some sort of cover system. Now, you can peek around corners and such, but I don't think that really counts. For the record, I'm not exactly complaining about this. I'm just more confused and slightly baffled as to why Denied Ops doesn't have a cover system, but something like Uncharted, Wanted Weapons of Fate, Kane and Lynch, and Killzone do have cover systems. As I was playing the very first level of the game, I was caught off guard almost instantly. So, you're not allowed to pick up enemy weapons in this game. You're stuck with what you have. This wouldn't exactly be anything new. For example, Jericho, a game that came out in late 2007, also has this same sort of formula. But the difference with Jericho is that you have around 6 people you can take control of, with various abilities, powers, and of course weapons. In Denied Ops, you only have 2 characters. Granted, when you progress through the levels, you obtain more weapons, grenades, and supplies. Like the sniper gets an underbarrel shotgun for some odd reason, and the other guy who has the LMG gets an underbarrel grenade launcher and an RPG type weapon. Regardless, this still pertains to the fact that you have an extremely basic arsenal of weaponry, and not being able to swap out with other dropped weapons can have the potential to make the gameplay far more repetitive than it ever should be. Not helping matters is that the sniper rifle is horribly unreliable in terms of being able to take an enemy down in 1 or 2 shots. There's been numerous occasions where it took upwards to like 3 or 4 hits before the enemy finally went down. Also, there's absolutely zero stealth in this game. The moment you start shooting, even with a silenced gun, the enemy knows exactly where you are and starts shooting. The enemy AI is also weird and inconsistent. They're either complete idiots that miss every single shot, or they have pinpoint accuracy and they can take you down in sheer seconds. Some levels were a complete breeze to go through, while others were frustrating. But the levels wouldn't have been nearly as frustrating if they had the proper checkpoints. Like, there's one level in the game that I died nearly 10 minutes in, and I had to replay the entire level all over again, whereas another level, there was like a checkpoint every 2-3 minutes? The level design, while I'm on the subject, isn't even that bad. Yeah, there are some levels that were better than others, but as a whole, I was not bothered at all with the level design, other than the few times I got lost and had no idea where I was supposed to go, but I'm going to chalk that up to user error and alcohol. The controls are, well, different. You aim down the sights by clicking the right thumbstick, which is fine. There had been plenty of other games utilizing this same aiming concept. Although what did throw me off was that the game doesn't allow any changes to the aiming speed or the ability to remove aim assist. I don't think I've ever seen that before. A vast majority of shooter games at least give you a few options on the aiming speed, but this one has nothing. What's that about? Outside of the weirdness, the controls work fine, everything is totally responsive. So there's that, I guess.
I'm on it. Form on me.
Fight for your lives.
They're listening in on our frequency. We gotta move.
The gameplay, I really struggled with this one on coming up with anything to say about it. It's just not fun. The levels, the whole entire experience, the story dragged on for what felt like days. This game ended up turning out to be a chore for me to play after the first 5 minutes. I would be as bold enough to say that the entire game was a complete waste of my time to play. There's really no redeeming qualities to it. Nothing that compels me to want to play more than that very first level out of sheer, mundane, stupid curiosity on my part. But I pushed forward, forcing myself to play this game further, and by the end of things, Denied Ops has got to be one of the most miserable games I've ever played, at least on this generation of consoles. Now, the big question here is, would I put this game on my top 10 worst shooter games list? You know, I think I might. In no certain terms would I ever play this game again, even if I was paid money to do so. Even like $1 million would really, really make me think about it. It's just so painfully boring. It's so dull, so lifeless. The game has no personality. There's no passion behind it, if that makes any sense. Yes, fine. It is a fully functional and playable game. It's not broken by any means. But I almost wish it was, because that would make this game far more interesting and entertaining. It goes without saying, I could never ever recommend you guys to ever play this game. There's no reason to play it. And again, who is this game meant for? Who was the target audience? Who exactly was supposed to want to play this game, let alone enjoy it? I don't get it. And by the looks of how quickly the company folded, it appears as if a vast majority of consumers, critics, and publications didn't exactly get it either.
It's time to kiss your redneck ass goodbye, bro. I'm on the first flight out to Miami.
You think this is over, and you're an even bigger idiot than I gave you credit for. Ramirez isn't gonna go quietly.
Go take a shower. You fucking stink.